Welcome back to the channel. Today I bring you an interesting game between FIDE Master Wanyama from Uganda and Grandmaster Eric Hansen from Canada in the 44th Chess Olympiad Chennai, India 2022. In this game, the FM made the GM sit on a hot plate until the end game. So, about the players, Wanyama is a Ugandan chess player who got a straight FIDE Master title after winning 60% of his games at the Chess Olympiad Istanbul, Turkey 2012. Then went on to win the bronze medal at All Africa Games in Morocco in 2019 ahead of many grandmasters. He has won many tournaments including the East African Chess Championship 2022, Kenya Open multiple times, and so many other tournaments. About Eric Hansen is a Canadian chess grandmaster and a Twitch streamer. FIDE awarded him the grandmaster title in 2013, and he also competed in the FIDE World Cup in 2011 and 2013. Hansen has represented Canada in the Chess Olympiad and in the online tournament Airings Masters in February 2022. Hansen butchered GM Magnus Carlsen and Ian Nepomniachtchi in the preliminary rounds and qualified for the knockout phase. FIDE Master Wanyama in the white pieces played d4 and GM Eric Hansen in the black pieces played knight f6, c4, e6. And after g3 from the FIDE Master, this brings us the Catalan opening. After d5, the line continues with knight f3. If black takes the pawn on c4, this takes us the open variation in the Catalan opening, which gives white an opportunity to put pressure on the queen side of the black side. But however, if black doesn't take the pawn on c4 and either only plays pawn c6 or either bishop e7, that takes us the closed variation in the Catalan opening. This makes black to be passive. That's why after pawn d5, Harold played bishop g2 and the GM played d takes c4. And in this position, Harold played knight f3. So we are wondering what happens if black decides to defend the pawn, which is on c4. If black plays pawn b5, then white can play f4, and after c6, the attack can be very, very dangerous with moves of knight coming to e5. And you see that the bishop and the knight will all be putting pressure on this pawn which is on c6. And also the pawn which is on b5 will be hung. And I can tell you white will have a huge advantage on attacking the queen side. And there is no GM who would wish to have such a position against a low-rated player in a serious tournament like the FIDE Olympiad. Let's go back. After knight f3, the GM played knight c6, a simple move. And in this position, Harold played queen f4, trying to take back the pawn, which is on c4. The GM played bishop b4 check, trying to obstruct the queen and then try to hold on to the pawn, planning moves like either pawn s6 and then pawn comes to b5 in the future. FM played bishop d2. In the game, GM played bishop takes d2, but there's an interesting line which can begin with knight d5. And after bishop takes d4, knight takes b4. After a3, black will play b5, trying to deflect the queen and then go into check. So in case white plays queen takes b5, then knight c2 check will be winning. Let's go back. So after bishop b4 check, FM played bishop d2. Bishop takes d2, knight takes d2. And in this position, GM went ahead to go for short castling. Queen takes pawn on c4. Queen d6 will be an interesting move in the position, but however, the GM played e5. FM played the exact response as recommended by Stockfish. D takes e4. And after knight g4, now you see that the knight on c6 and knight on g4 attacking the pawn which is on e5. Harold went ahead to play queen c3, defending the pawn which is on e5. And after queen e7, trying to bring another attacker to the pawn, Harold played knight c4, defending the pawn. GM played rook e8, but in case black tries b5, then Harold could play knight d6. The queen will be attacking knight on c6, and also the knight wants to take off the bishop, which is on c8. And after c takes d6, queen takes c6, attacking the rook, at the same time attacking the pawn which is on b5, and after bishop b7, queen takes d6. I can tell you white has slight advantage. Let's go back. After knight c4, the GM played rook e8, putting another attacker to the pawn which is on e5. And in this position, Harold played rook d1, but rook c1 should have been considered in this position. So Harold played rook d1, saying that rooks belong to open files. And in this position, the GM played bishop e6, attacking the defender of the pawn which is on e5, and also attacking the pawn which is on a2. And Harold played knight f5, attacking the pawn which is on b7, at the same time asking for an exchange so that the queen can take the knight and then defend the pawn which is on a2. And the GM played bishop takes a2. FM played knight takes c6, but the more interesting line would begin with knight takes b7, and after queen b4, short castling, then queen takes c3, then b takes c3. In case of knight takes e5, then rook d2, attacking the bishop which is on a2, and threatening to exchange the knights and open up for the bishop diagonal, which can be a very powerful piece in the position. That's why after bishop takes a2, Harold played knight takes c6, b takes c6, and he played knight d4, opening up for the bishop diagonal. In case of knight takes e5, then short castling, and after rook a b8, rook a1, attacking the bishop which is on a2, bishop d5, then e4. After bishop c4, attacking the rook, rook f c1, bishop b5, rook takes a7, and I can tell you at least white has slight advantage. Let's go back. After knight d4, the interesting continuation also can be c5. And if black plays c5, you see that now the bishop will open up. And after bishop takes a8, c takes d4, rook takes d4, I can tell you that now the knight on g4 is hanging. The bishop is going to fall back. Let's go back. After knight d4, GM played queen takes e5. Then FM played bishop takes c6, attacking both rooks. Then bishop d5, bishop takes a8. In case of bishop taking the rook which is on h1, then still the bishop can still come and pick the other bishop. That's why the GM played bishop takes a8, short castling in the position. And in this position, the GM played a very strong move. He played knight takes h2. In this position, it is white to play. For example, if king takes h2, then queen h5 check, and after king g1, queen h1 is checkmate. Let's go back. After knight h2, Harold played rook f e1. And after queen h5, in this position, Harold missed a chance to beat a GM, and he played e4. But however, if Harold could play knight f3, and after knight g4, planning to take the knight which is on f3 and then checkmate the white king, then e4, and after queen b5, attacking the pawn which is on b7 in case white goes ahead to take the pawn on c7. I can tell you in this position, white is winning. Let's go back. But after queen h5, Harold blundered the game and played e4. And in this position, the GM unleashed all his strength and he played c5, trying to move the knight away from d4 so that he can take over the f3 square. After knight f5, knight f3 check, Harold played king f1. In case of king g2, this blunders a piece because after knight takes rook on e1 check, rook takes e1, then queen takes f5, taking a free piece because of the bishop pin against the king. That's why after knight f3, Harold played king f1, queen h3 check, then king e2, rook takes e4 check, knight e3, rook e8, going back, and in this position, Harold played a dubious move and he played queen takes c5. But if you try rook h1, would still be keeping him in the game. For example, after knight d4 check, rook takes d4, bishop f3 check, king d3, and after queen takes h1, queen takes c5. At least white will have promising chances to play on the game. After rook e8, Harold played queen takes c5, and this gave the GM more attacking chances. The GM played knight takes e1. After rook takes e1, queen g4 check. Knight can't take queen because it has been pinned down by the rook. Then king d2, queen d7 check. Trying to plan to pin the queen in case the king goes to the c column. King e2, queen g4 check. After king d2, rook d8, and after king c3. In this position, black has no time to pin the queen because the knight can take the queen, which is on g4. That's why the GM played queen e6. Now, planning to support the rook to pin the queen against the king, queen takes a7. And this position, the GM played queen e5 check, king c2, bishop e4 check, king c1, rook c8 check. And this one wins the game on the spot. And in this position, Harold resigned the game because of this continuation. If king d2, then queen takes b2 check, and after knight c2, queen c3 check, king c1, queen takes c2 could be checkmate. Thank you for watching, and I wish you the best of luck in your games.